she said, you know, the only time you're not having panic attacks now are, you know, she's like, screw the meds. You know, the only times you're not having panic attacks are really when you're meditating. You know, and you're not working, so why don't you just meditate all day? And that was like, I mean, that was a huge blow to my PTSD. Because I threw myself into my meditation.
Kind of bridging off your comment and what you just said, I was wondering if you could speak to, it sounded like there was 4 or 5 sessions with Lisa where you got to kind of establish a relationship before you opened that chest, like you were saying. How might you have responded if you were made to do that initially without those 5 sessions? If you could speak to that. If you guys would have started in that work right away.
I would have probably stopped going. Yeah. She let it be slow. And she let me just kind of, I was eager to go to therapy. But I don't know, I just felt like I had to, you know, just establish some kind of, I don't know, like, you know, they say, what do you do when you look at a monster? What do you do when you see a monster? You sing. You know, I mean, I felt like I was the monster, and she was just singing. She was just like, you're not bothering me, buddy. You're fine. What's going on? I travel around a lot, like Barb said. You know, I talk about my writings a lot, and I talk to people who are, you know, very educated, advanced degrees, and people who have no degrees, and I would say 99% of them do not feel comfortable, you know, speaking up about their therapist match. And it's shocking to me. You know, oh, I went to one therapy appointment, but it was a guy, and I don't want to talk to a guy, or it was this, or it was that, you know, and I'm like, call again. You know, call again. It really, it's you know, you can change therapists, and they're just like, I can? Is that going to cost more? You know. Like, you know, especially in Boston where they, you know, sometimes there's a feeling that they have all the answers and the healing all happens through them, and, you know, I'm the faucet, I'm the water, you're the thirsty person, come. But I knew right then that she would change my life when she said she was overwhelmed. Because even though in that moment I was kind of like, oh God, are you serious? You're such a talented person and you get overwhelmed? You know, it made me feel that we had started something together. We were like in it together now. And I felt like I had, like I said, an ally.
And that seems to be almost completely contradictory to a lot of our training is don't react, you know, take the drama, you know, it's not, and personally I find that very difficult because a lot of what our clients have been through is just plain astounding to me. And my gut tells me to react in such a manner seems to be natural, seems to be affirming to that rather than to put on this face like, oh, it doesn't bother me, doesn't bother me, doesn't bother me. So that's really nice to hear that you appreciated that kind of reaction. The other thing that astounds me is your description of your emotional experience was just phenomenal. I mean, your ability to remember it in such detail and to be able to document that was just really astounding and helpful and really quite remarkable. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to say real quick about that. I think what made it different was that, you know, when I said that part about how she drew the circle around me of truth. Yeah. And that was how I interpreted when she was overwhelmed. Mm-hmm. I said, oh, it is. This should be overwhelming. Yeah. You know,
it was affirming.
Going through all these things, for a normal person is overwhelming. I think if she had done the opposite, it would also have been, you know, a block for us. If she had said, oh, this is what, you know, we can deal with this. This is no problem. We'll deal with this. You know, I would have also been like, almost like with the nun, like, if we're not going to speak truth in here, then what's the point of this?
I was wondering if with your relationship with Lisa, did that hurt your trust in her make it easier to accept that Rob was gonna be part of the team? Because, you know, you put your heart in her and then the switch to this other person. I just wondered.
That's a great question. That's a great question. Yeah, I think by the time she started to bring, how she introduced it to me was that she had some of the skills to diagnose PTSD, but not all of them. She wanted to really be sure. And again, it was kind of, oh wow, you know, she really is taking this seriously. You know, she's not just saying, yeah, you have PTSD. You know, when she said, I'm going to confer with other people, I thought, this is important. You know, my care is actually important. So it became part of the therapy to see that I was an important person to somebody. And Rob also, I think, particularly Lisa and Rob worked well together. They were very similar. If he had been very different, you know, that would have been probably not as good. But they had almost identical mannerisms in therapy, and together they both said to me, you know, if you want to try meditation for a few weeks, but promise us that if we don't see progress, that we're going to talk about medication again. So it really felt very loving, like almost the start of a wellness family, for lack of
I felt today here, I felt overwhelmed by the silence that we have. We usually are not so silent. We chat when somebody is presenting and we look at our phones and we chat with somebody else. There was silence here. And it was great. Thank you very much.
I was just going to ask, how long after your treatment with Lisa did you, what was the time period for when you started this book, and then how was it for you? Like, did you journal in your treatment with Lisa towards the end? How did this?
To write about it?
Mm-hmm.
It was a long process. It was a long process. I moved over to a spiritual journey and less of a psychodynamic journey. My 20s were most of them were about actual spiritual healing. And for me that was a better match, because I think part of the initial break in my trust with the world had to do with spirituality. And so that's where the healing came in at the most powerful level. I started working one-on-one with a teacher, and I went to Insight Meditation Society in Barre, Massachusetts, which is excellent. And you know, you can sign up for a one-on-one teacher situation with them, and I made a lot of progress. But I really wasn't writing very much then, and in the process of my 30s, I had other really strange situations. One of my closest friends died in my arms, and when I went back to Fenway, and I tried to go into therapy again because of that, because it was kind of bringing that stuff up again. She said, well, you know, we have 40 therapists here, but none of us have ever been alone with a dying person at the moment of death. And she's like, it's kind of shocking that we're so far removed from death in our society. She goes, I have a feeling that if you can live through this experience and write about it, it would be very helpful. And so I started to see, when she said that, to answer your question, that there were some experiences I had that I could put in a single book and relate why I'm pretty, like I said, peaceful and happy. When I go out to see my friends in different places, some of them who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, who have the big house, who have amazing lives, they look at me and they're just like, why are you happy? And so I started to put it together just a few years ago.
So wondering if you could comment on how you came to the title of the book.
Actually, someone else did in San Francisco. A friend of mine who I was just describing kept saying to me, why are you always so relentlessly happy? Kind of in an angry tone. Like, I was having a dinner party at my house, and there were all these people over, and in front of me was every reason to be happy that you could think of. You know, marriage, long time, financial success, huge financial success. Every metric, for happiness, and they were all miserable. And I started hearing that, like a couple times in 1 week, someone said to me, "Why are you so happy?" And my friend said to me, "You look like you've got the secret of life written down on a little piece of paper in your pocket."
Give it up.
And I thought, if I do, I don't think I do, but if I do, whatever I have, let me share it with you. Well, in my book, I identify 5 things that keep most people from being happy. And I think if, you deal with those things, there is kind of a level of, relentless does sound kind of, like high key, but I think what I mean is that a world-wise happiness, a happiness that has been through what I call debilitating romantic heartbreak, the death of close friends, and seen a good amount of the world. A sturdy happiness.
So then the relentlessness is the drive of life? Is that
The relentlessness is, I think, honoring the sturdiness of it. It's not a fragile happiness. I think a lot of our happiness, talking about this and traveling around, a lot of our happiness is built on things that are quite fragile. I'm happy because I look good, or I look good today, or I got this degree, and then right away we feel like I'm not worthy, or I'm thin today, so I feel happy, or whatever it is.